Hi, and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. Glad to have you. I'm Tim. I upload new videos each week all about running. Today I've got a couple daily trainers that I'm comparing, the Nike Pegasus 37 and the Asics Novablast. If you're in the market for a new daily trainer, running shoe that can go the distance as well as maybe pick up the pace, one of these two might be just what you're looking for. So I'm going to put up on screen now. I'll start with just some of the basic stats of each shoe. And then we'll take a look at the upper as well as the midsole, the outsole. And I have 100 miles on both of these shoes, so we can also look at the durability and see how that they've been holding up over that period of time. And I'll talk a little bit about the performance and what it's like to run in them as well. All right, so here are the stats of the shoes. So we'll start with the Asics Novablast. It retails for $130. It comes in at 9.2 ounces in a men's size 9 or 260 grams. A women's size 8 is 7.8 ounces or 221 grams. It has a 10 millimeter offset. It has a 32 millimeter stack height in the heel for men and 31 for women. It has a 22 millimeter stack height in the forefoot and 21 in the forefoot for women. It's a neutral road shoe that runs true to size. Compare that to the Nike Pegasus 37. It runs $120. It comes in at 9.6 ounces for men's size 9 or 272 grams. 8.2 ounces for women's size 8 or 233 grams. It also has a 10 millimeter offset. It has 28 millimeter stack height in the heel, 18 millimeter in the forefoot. It's a neutral road shoe, and it too runs true to size. So let's take a look at the uppers on these shoes. With the Asics Novablast, it's lightweight, breathable. They consider it to be a multi-directional mesh material. And then now on the Nike Pegasus 37, that too has a very breathable, lightweight mesh material. There are some differences. The Asics Novablast appears to have, or feels to me like it has more room in the toe box, whereas the Nike Peg 37 is a bit more narrow in that particular area. Looking at the eyelet chain, it's a pretty basic eyelet chain for the most part. On the Novablast shoe, you can see that it's got somewhat of a tabbed system going on there in the eyelet chain. I do like how it fits my foot. It has these notches down at the forefoot area. And oftentimes, when I'm lacing up shoes, I have a bit of a narrow foot down in that particular area, and it tends to bunch up, the material does, in that particular spot. I didn't have that issue with the Novablast. Now, with the Peg 37, they did update their eyelet chain from the previous 36 version of the shoe, and they moved away from the fly wires into a fit tab system, and that's remarkably comfortable. It just seemed to form fit to my forefoot. And I felt very secure and locked in, as I did with the Novablast, but just a bit more so with the Nike Peg 37. So I enjoyed the fit on both of these uppers. Now, when we look at the tongue of the Asics Novablast, you'll see it's a bit thicker there at the top. I did have an issue with somewhat of a hot spot on the side of that tongue. It just felt like it was kind of digging into my foot a bit, so I had to adjust my laces oftentimes and how tight that I tied them to get a comfortable feel. The Peg 37, I didn't have that issue. I love the way that felt. It's a very thin tongue. It's got a little bit of a notch there at the top. The other thing, too, to notice about the tongue is the tongue on the Peg 37 is gusseted. And why that's important is they took that material and they continued on throughout the toe box. So consequently, the Peg 37, I think, runs a little bit hotter because it doesn't breathe quite as well as the Asics Novablast does. Turning now to the collar and the heel tab on these shoes. Looking at the Asics Novablast, you can see that it's well padded in those areas. I didn't have any issues with that. Also remember that I have 100 miles on both of these shoes, so as we're looking at the upper and looking at the collar and the heel tab and so on, just keep in mind that both of these shoes have held up remarkably well durability-wise. They don't show much in terms of signs of wear. So let's look at the Peg 37 now. The heel collar as well as the heel tab, both are also well padded. I felt comfortable in both shoes. The heel cup in both shoes, I felt like it kept me in place pretty well. I never really felt insecure or unsafe in either shoe when I was out running, making any kind of tight corners or picking up the speed. I don't do a lot of switchbacks in my runs, but on occasion I have done that with some speed work. So I do feel like both shoes have done a great job that way and just making you feel secure when you have them on foot. Looking at the midsoles, that has to be where the biggest difference lies in these two shoes. With the Asics Novablast, you have a ton of that Flytefoam Blast material that they're using. You have 32 millimeter stack height in the heel and again 22 in the forefoot. That is just a lot of foam. Whereas the Nike Peg 37 has that 28 millimeter in the heel and 18 in the forefoot. Also, the Asics Novablast, they sculpted their foam in a way, and you'll notice that with all those geometric shapes and designs on that midsole. But they've sculpted that in a way to give it a maximum bounce. So it's not just for looks. With the Nike Peg 37, they put an airbag in that forefoot, which they have in previous Pegasus shoes. It's just they moved it just to the forefoot rather than the full length of the shoe. They thickened the material. They changed the PSI from for men and women. The men's PSI in that airbag in that forefoot is 20. For women, it's 15 to give them a little bit more of a softer ride. But that creates a totally different feel on foot when you're wearing these shoes. The Asics Novablast, if you've seen my review of the shoe after 100 miles, you'll know that I described it a little bit as springy and squishy. Well, it really is. It's probably the softest shoe that I've had on my feet. It is very comfortable to wear. You can certainly wear it long distances. Where the Peg 37, it's highly cushioned as the Asics is, but not as cushioned. It certainly has enough of their React foam, and they have React foam from heel to toe on the Peg 37, which is a very durable foam. And it's springy and responsive, but it's not squishy by any stretch of the imagination. Also with that airbag, it gives a different sensation underfoot when you're running. I kind of liken it to maybe a diver or somebody that's standing on the edge of a pool and they've got their toes kind of just gripped over the edge to push themselves off into a dive. That's kind of how my toes felt on that airbag. Like it was just kind of gripping that at times to give you something to push off with. It was a unique sensation, but comfortable, and I was able to go quick in both shoes. So even though they're both daily trainers, I think they both have the ability to pick up the speed if you wanted to use them on race day. Looking now at the outsole of the Asics Novablast first, we'll see that they have basically all of the high impact areas covered in their high abrasion AHAR plus rubber material. And they say that that is 50% more durable than what they've used on other high abrasion shoes in the past. And, I think it's done a good job. These shoes have over 100 miles on them, as do the Peg 37s. And looking closely at that AHAR plus material, they don't show much in terms of signs of wear anywhere on the bottom of that shoe. Obviously, there's some, where you would expect to see it, where, in the heel area as well as maybe where I toe off. But for the most part, it's held up really well. Looking at the Peg 37, they've got rubber pretty much on all of that exposed React foam. There's some in that cutout area that is exposed, but for the most part, all of the high abrasion areas or areas of high wear that you would expect to see it on your shoes first have been covered. And it's held up just as the Novablast has really well. Looking closely at it, you can see that there isn't much in terms of signs of wear on either of these shoes. So kudos to both Asics and Nike for putting out some pretty durable products. So if you're looking for a really fun shoe to run in that is squishy, you might want to consider the Asics Novablast. I will note, however, that some people have said that it just makes them feel a little too unstable. I didn't have that issue. I am a smaller runner, and that might play a role in terms of how they feel underfoot. Or if you're looking for something that is a bit more responsive, that has that bounce off that forefoot with that airbag, that I think can pick up the pace maybe just a little bit quicker than the Asics Novablast can, the Peg 37 might be the right shoe for you. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, maybe give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload new content. As always, run tall, run strong, and be kind to each other. We'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.